Yo guys, so for today's video, I'll be covering on this upcoming new launch called Zyon Grand. So this is one of the more anticipated launches for the year. And if you guys have been following for a while, you will know that this is actually the third plot in the River Valley area. And this is right beside Promenade Peak, okay? So in today's video, right, I'll be covering on some of Zyon Grand's key project details and also its floor plans, its site plans, as well as comparison towards Promenade Peak and also River Green. So if you want to find out more, stay tuned. Alright, so to start things off, let's take a look at what happened for River Green's launch day itself, okay? So over here, we have the newspaper article, Wing Tai sets record for CCR sales in 2025 and it sold 88% of River Green on the launch weekend. So definitely this is very impressive, especially for a CCR project. And it is sold at an average price of 3130 PSF, okay? So like I said, if you have saw my previous video, Wing Tai has been very good at this kind of CCR and delivering compact unit sizes. So their previous launch, I think similar to this, was considered the M, okay? So they achieved very strong take-up rate on the launch day itself. And you can take a look at my previous video and then you can see what I actually talk about the M itself in the resale market as well, okay? And now back to the video, right? Why did River Green sell so well? So there's a couple of reasons. I'm just gonna summarize it, okay? So the first one is actually strategic and affordable pricing for prime location. So this one really similar strategy as adopted in the M. So that's why they just know that this strategy already works. So that's why they're just gonna prop it into River Green as well, and hence we see the very strong take-up rate, okay? And second one is high demand, right, from a key segment, which is also the HDB upgraders. Okay, so from here, we really have the statistics from One Burnham and also One Marina Gardens. So all of the buyers, a lot of them actually come from the HDB upgrader market. So I think nowadays, developers, they are pivoting to a different group of buyers rather than the traditional CCR buyers in the River Valley area. Okay, so this is a very smart strategy by Wing Tai. And the third one is actually the location itself and connectivity, right? I mean, the MRT right below all this, definitely very good location and convenience. So, I mean, based on the PSF and locality, it's gonna be hard to get a River Valley condo at this quantum, especially in the new launch market. Okay, last but not least is also a bit of the market timing and pent-up demand. So over here, we can see for a particular market segment in the CCR area, a lot of people actually realize that the pricing from the RCR to the CCR region has been quite close. And then at the same time, if you see the quantum that River Green actually provides, you can actually only get a similar unit type or bedroom type in the RCR region. You can't really go beyond the CCR region. So I think that was why the take-up rate for River Green was very strong. So over on the same weekend, we also had Promenade Peak launching as well. But we all know that Promenade Peak actually didn't do as well in terms of the take-up rate. But of course, it's still quite decent, okay? So here, you can see, right, the newspaper article, All Green sells 54% of Promenade Peak on launch day itself, and the premium units actually fetch an average of 3343 PSF. Okay, so to further expand on this newspaper article, for the premium units, right, they are the 3, 4 and 5 bedders with the private lift, so they are on the higher floors. So it's quite interesting because the take-up rate for all these 3, 4, 5 bedders, right, was actually very strong, okay? So it really shows demand, right, for a particular type of unit, especially in the very luxury region that people are still willing to pay for, especially in this like CCR or very prime RCR region. Okay, and on top of that, the 1, 2 and 3 bedders, because they are in the same stack as the 3, 4, 5 premium stacks, right, the layout is kind of awkward for some of the smaller bedroom types. So that's why we can see some of the take-up rate not as strong. Okay, so right now let's kind of dive deeper, right, into why Promenade Peak didn't sell as well. Okay, so these are the main differences in terms of the strategies that the developers adopted. Okay, so first things first, for Promenade Peak, there was a difference in terms of market positioning and also pricing strategy. So as you all know, River Green, although it is in a more prime location, the product itself, right, is a little bit less luxury as compared to Promenade Peak. I think Promenade Peak from the very get-go, it was already targeted at the more luxurious kind of concept and also the unit was much bigger as compared to Rivergreen. I think that was already very different in terms of product offerings, okay? And on top of that, we talk about pricing strategy because like you say, the 4-beders at Promenade Peak was a lot bigger than the 4-beders at Rivergreen, but this also result in a very different quantum. So maybe for Rivergreen, it actually opened up more for the entry-level CCR product, but then in Promenade Peak, it actually positioned itself as a luxury RCR product. Okay. Second thing is location and perceived value. I think in the end for most Singaporeans, definitely we will still prefer River Valley because it's still a more prime location as compared to Promenade Peak. Promenade Peak, although it has its own perks as well because it's still near MRT, still near Great World City Mall, but in the end I think people will still prefer the River Valley location. Okay. Third thing is the target audience for Promenade Peak. Okay, so Promenade Peak, like I mentioned just now, they are targeting at the more luxury kind of target audience. So the unit types are designed to be bigger and also not compromising on the livability. Whereas if you compare to the Rivergreen, right, you can see actually the units are very compact and it's very efficient, but at the same time it doesn't really scream luxury. You get what I mean? Yeah, so that's why the target audience was very different. Whereas for Rivergreen, they are really targeting like the HDB upgraders, entry level kind of. Okay. And last but not least, we also have the head-to-head competition. So for this component, to be honest, I'm also not too sure if Promenade Peak actually launched later will help with its sales, because with the FOMO together at Rivergreen and Promenade Peak launching on the same weekend, maybe they actually had a stronger take-up rate of 54% compared to if they launch later. Maybe you can let me know in the comment section if they actually should have launched later. But overall, I still feel like 54%, 50+% is still a very strong take-up rate for Promenade Peak, and some of the units has still been moving since the launch. Yeah, so I think this one you have to keep a look for it because you have to keep an eye on it now. Okay, so now that we already know the differences between the strategies for the different developers for Rivergreen and also Promenade Peak, later on I will dive deeper into the unit types and the layout types for Rivergreen and Promenade Peak to actually see why the take-up rate was so different. And at the same time, I will also be using Zyon Grand's layouts that is already released to compare as well. So stay tuned for that, okay? Alright, so next up, I'll be covering on Zyon Grand's project details. CDL already has released them. Okay, so you can take a look. This is the artist's impression of Zyon Grand. So definitely very impressive. Also 60-story buildings, and over here we have the shorter building which is the service apartment. Okay, so this project name is Zyon Grand, developer is by CDL, 2 blocks of 62-story residential development, and then for the long stay service apartment it is at 36 stories. Okay, so this has the restaurants, F&B, supermarket, and also a childcare center. So I think these are all very good points to have if you want a very livable project. Okay, and this is in District 3, so this is considered RCR region. So 2 blocks, Block 3 and Block 5, 99-year leasehold, land area about 15,000 square meters. So later on I will elaborate on this further. Okay, number of units 706 units, and estimate and the number of car park lots we are looking at is 595 car park lots. So definitely very good ratio. You can see 595 into 706. We are looking about I think we are looking about 80+% ratio. So definitely very good in terms of the car park ratio to number of units. Okay, so over here we have the unit mix for Zyon Grand, and then you can see we have 1+ study which starts from 474 square feet all the way to the penthouse 5-bedroom with private lift of 2,600 square feet. Okay, so do bear in mind these are all harmonized layout, so they already exclude the aircon latch, so these are all very efficient layouts as well. Okay, so just to go into the summary for the unit mix, I really think in terms of the number of units for the 1 and 2 bedders, we are looking at a very good number because this forms less than 50% of the total units. And then for the 3, 4, and 5-bedroom types, right, they have more than 50% of the units here. So definitely in terms of like number of tenants moving in and out, it will be significantly lesser as compared to the other projects nearby. Okay, so I think Zyon Grand, they definitely have a very good unit mix here, but do bear in mind you also have the service apartment component over here. Okay, so for those of you looking to rent out in terms of the 1 and 2 bedders, you also need to take note you have to stand out from the service apartment units. Okay, Okay, so next up, I'm going to be discussing the potential views for Zyon Grand's units. Okay, so over here, I superimpose the site plan on the area itself. Then you can see the two closest block that you need to take note. HDB block 87, so this one up to 25th story. The setback is about 83 meters. So this one will be closer towards one of the blocks. And then the other side on the other block, you'll be closer towards Tribeca. So Tribeca is about 30 stories high. And then we are looking at about 96 meters in terms of setback. Okay. And for the other buildings, they are not going to be that near. So I don't think you should be that concerned about them. But of course, it's all over here. You can pause and then you can take a look if you are buying into a particular stack. You need to be mindful of all the building heights also, okay? And then the most obvious one will be, it will be directly facing towards Promenade Peak. Okay, so now let's zoom in closer, I actually placed Promenade Peak's site plan together with Zyon Grand site plan in the area itself, so you can already kind of see what you should expect, okay? So definitely in terms of views, I think Promenade Peak, the stacks that is facing towards the Singapore River, that side, it will be much better as compared to Zyon Grand, that's for sure, okay? And on top of that, for Promenade Peaks, if you see the number of units that's not moving, most of them actually is facing towards the Zyon Grand side, which is very obvious, okay? And then it will be quite interesting to see how CDL will actually price block 3, especially for those stacks that's facing towards Promenade Peak side, because I'm quite sure most of them wouldn't want their views being blocked. So I look closely into the site plan itself. Later I will do a deeper zoom in. Only partial block 3 will be blocked, okay? So the other half of block 3, you won't really see the block view from Promenade Peak, okay? So that one we will revisit that later, yeah. But at least here, you can kind of get a sensing of what we are dealing with in terms of the two projects side by side. Okay, so for the expected views for level 60, over here, this is given by the developers. On the north view, we have Great World City, Ion Orchard, River Valley Primary School, that side. And then for the south side, we have the Central Business District, Sentosa area, Tiong Bahru Market Food Center. So these are the views that you kind of can expect. Okay, so next up we have the site plan itself for Zyon Grand, and then over here you can see we are going to be surrounded by Zion Road, Havelock Road, and Kim Seng Road. And then we have two blocks, block 3 and block 5. And then for the distance between the two blocks, we have about 32 meters. So overall, when I see the site plan itself, it already gives a very good impression in terms of how they actually plan the overall site plan. You can see we have a very grand drop-off area, tennis court, and you have a very nice statement piece in the middle of the development. So I think definitely CDL, they know what they're doing. It's going to be very atas in this area. Okay, and on top of that, we have a multiple water features in this development, the lawn, and also a lap pool in this area. Okay, and on top of that, we still have the service apartment component, so that one will also have supermarket, childcare center, and also the F&B restaurants. Okay, so now if we take a closer look into block 3 itself, this will be the block that is closest towards Promenade Peak's other blocks as well. And then you can see developer actually very smart. For CDL, they purposely put on the smaller bedroom types towards this block so that they know it will move based on quantum, but not really based on the other factors. Okay, so the blocks that I feel mainly, so for the stacks that I feel mainly will be blocked will be on stack 3, stack 4, and maybe stack 5. I think from what I saw, stack 6, it should be kind of unblocked already. Yeah, so later on I will dive deeper for this particular bedroom type, then we can kind of project to see what is the views that we are expecting, okay? But definitely stack 3 and 4 should be quite broad one. So do expect a good price range for these two as compared to maybe stack 9 and 10. So I do expect stack 9 and 10 should have a significant price premium as compared to stack 3 and 4. Yeah, but this is where if you're an investor, then you should take note about all these differences in terms of pricing. But if you're buying in terms of you want to own stay, you really want the most unblocked view, you don't care about rental yield, don't care about entry price, then I think stack 9 and 10 definitely is a much better product. Okay, so next up we have the entrance area for Zyon Grand. Okay, so you can see most of the vehicles, they'll be coming in from the Kim Seng Road area. So definitely this could help with some of the traffic because I know the Zion Road side is going to be very, very busy one. Okay, and then they will have a driveway towards the residential car park towards B2 and B3, whereas for the B1 car park, you still need to go through the drop-off area, which is the ball. I think the ball thing is going to be quite iconic in this Zyon Grand area, and definitely it will have the very luxurious atas vibe. I think this is quite similar to what we see at Panorama. Okay, Of course, we don't know how it actually looks like yet because the developer haven't opened the show flat for us. Yeah, but I do feel they're going to be doing a very nice concept for this show off area. Okay, and yeah, so overall you can see this is the movements for the cars, and then for the exit point to be towards the Zion Road area there. And then for the next component, you can also see the lifts. They'll be connecting from block 3, B3 all the way to first story, and then for block 5 all the way from B1 to upper first floor. And also within the development, the developer already had created the exit right for Havelock MRT. So definitely this is going to be one of the key selling points for Zyon Grand. So that's why even though they acquired the land at 1002 PSF PPR, they might not necessarily sell it cheap. Okay, so moving on to the next part, we can kind of see how the developers actually segregate the car parks, the residential lobbies from the restaurants, the F&B side, the supermarket, the Havelock MRT station exit, and also the childcare center. So most of the car parks and residential lobbies, they'll be on the block 3, block 5 basement areas. Whereas for the F&B supermarket side, they will be on the facilities lower first floor. Okay, so of course for this, we have to wait for developers to release further details as to how it would actually look like. But at least we know for the residents, it's going to be segregated well, so at least you have the exclusive portion and privacy still intact. Okay, so over here we have the illustration, then you can see below block 3, block 5, and also the service apartment, we have the first story, basement 1, basement 2, and also basement 3. So over here, I won't elaborate too much. You can pause and then you can see how it actually looks like. Alright, okay, so over here you already can see for the second story at Zyon Grand, it is already 22 meters above from the street level itself. So even for those of you that's buying for the low floor units, don't have to worry too much because it is already quite elevated. I would say at 22 meters, it is kind of like, I think level 5, level 6 at least already. Okay, so we are already quite elevated. And then at the 22nd story, we have the Sky Terrace. 43 story also got the Sky Terrace. Okay, so right now when we look at the elevation chart for Zyon Grand, it's definitely quite different already as compared to Promenade Peak, because for Promenade Peak, the smaller bedroom types don't go all the way up to 60 plus floor. But for CDL, they're just gonna do the whole stack the same layout. I think this one gives them a little bit more room as to how to design the layout, because for Promenade Peak, some of them, the main difference was because the bigger units was on top and then the smaller units, they had to fit the size of the bigger units. As a result, the awkward layouts was kind of formed. Yeah, so I think this will be some of the key differences. So I would say if you are entering the smaller bedroom types at Zyon Grand, then I think it could present a good opportunity because the layout definitely is going to be a lot more efficient as compared to what we see at Promenade Peak. Alright, so now moving on to the show units for Zyon Grand. Okay, so over here we have the 2 plus study, and this is a 721 square feet layout. And then you can see we have a study room, kitchen area. Do bear in mind this kitchen is not enclosed. Okay, bathrooms, master bath, 2 bedrooms, and also living room with a balcony. So I think the key thing here you need to take note is that the bathroom, kitchen, they don't have windows . So the main windows will be just on the living room area and the bedrooms. Okay, I think the main key point here that I want to highlight is that if you compare to Promenade Peak's 2 plus study, it's a very stark difference. Later on, I'll be also sharing a little bit more on the Promenade Peak's 2 plus study, because for the bigger ones, we actually have 797 square feet at Promenade Peak. So this one will be a very big difference as compared to what we see at this Zyon Grand 721 square feet layout type. Okay, so for the next show unit, this is the 3 plus study. So 1076 square feet, definitely a very good size. Over here, we have an enclosed kitchen and WC, dining area, household shelter, 3 bedrooms. And what I like about this layout is that they kind of have a hybrid landscape layout because they have the study together with the living room. So this one really depends on how you want to orientate this, because they do share the same balcony, but other than that, they have this structural pillar there . Yeah, this one you have to take note. Okay, so the other 2 bathrooms are also have windows, so they can be naturally ventilated. So overall, this is a very solid 3 plus study layout type that I feel it will do very well on the launch day itself. So it really depends on how CDL actually price this unit, because I do expect very strong take-up rate for this kind of layout, but you also must see the entry price . Okay, so last but not least, we have the 4 bedroom Supreme with the private lift, for the show units, okay? So here we have a very good layout, private lift lobby, kitchen with the utility and yard, WC, and then we got a dry kitchen area, okay? And on top of that, we have the junior master with the ensuite, landscape layout in the living room with the balcony, bedroom 3, 4, and then the master bedroom. Bathroom, we also have windows, walk-in wardrobe for the master bedroom, and then the master bathroom also have windows, and something we don't really see often, we have the bathtub over here. And then you can see, if you look closely, right, the bathroom also has a his and her for the basin. So this one definitely targeted a very different market already, okay? So right here we have some of the artist impression of the facilities within Zyon Grand. I really think it's very nice because let's say for example you see this waterfall cove, right? Wow, you relax here and then you are facing towards this like cascading waterfall kind of concept. I really think it really will suit very well in this region of people that really wants this kind of very relaxing lifestyle, and it does feel very luxurious, okay? And I'm quite sure with CDR's experience in this segment of the market, they really do a very good job. And then you can see here, this is some of the water features, the relaxation lagoon. It's really very nice, yeah. And then we still got the 50-meter lap pool, and then you can see this concept based on the artist impression. Actually, I really can't wait for the show flat briefing. It's gonna be, I think, something that is quite impressive, especially in this area. So for some of the residential host services, we have the welcome and assistance, right? So we have the reception service, concierge recommendations, transport arrangement, visitor assistance, moving in assistance, loan of wheelchair. Whereas for the living experience, we even have like tower service, estate and local information, facilities, reservations and assistance, parcel acceptance, and residential events. So this one, later on I will touch on a little bit more because I think it's very unique to this development. Okay, and also last but not least, we have the service request. So you can even reserve hotels and restaurants from the development itself, and also laundry and housekeeping services, really quite sick, okay? And private chef and caterer for parties, pet care, grooming services, mail and courier services, and also handyman services. Of course, this one will be at a separate cost. I can imagine now if all this is included inside your monthly maintenance, right? I think your per month, we should be looking at maybe 600-700 at least. Okay, so here you can see for the residential events, right? CDL has already envisioned Zyon Grand to have this kind of concept. I think it's going to be quite similar to what we see in the more Western countries. Okay, so like national days, some of the fireworks, Halloween, Christmas. So for all these events, right? Actually, if you see in more countries, really it's a lot more vibrant. Like they place a lot more emphasis there. So I think CDL, they are trying to bring this into Zyon Grand as a concept, and I'm quite sure they'll be able to do this well. And if they actually pull this off, right, Zyon Grand, they're going to be having this very nice kind of community event concept, and this will definitely increase some of its resale value because I think community, especially in the condominium market, plays a very big part in the resale market. So I think overall, CDL has done a very good job for Zyon Grand because from what I see in terms of the project details, artist impression, and also the concept of the entire development, I really think it's a very good fit in this area, and they have a very defined target audience already done. Okay, so next up, I'm going to be doing a comparison, right, for mainly Promenade Peak versus Zyon Grand, but of course, I will plug in some of the River Green information if relevant because for River Green, to be honest, there's not too much to compare with because it's already 88% sold, okay? So I'll be just mainly comparing between Promenade Peak and also Zyon Grand. Okay, so right now we're going to be comparing the site plans for Zyon Grand versus Promenade Peak. And then over here you can see for Zyon Grand, we are looking at 706 units spread across 164,000 square feet land. So of course, this one I never include the SA component, okay? Do take note on that. Whereas going over onto Promenade Peak, we have 596 units, almost 100,000 square feet of land, and then 481 in terms of car park lots. So I would say in terms of the ratio for car park lot, it's quite similar, okay? So putting that aside, now we're looking at the land, right? Definitely for Zyon Grand, they have about 100 units more, and on top of that, they still got the service apartment component. But when we look at the site plan itself, right, I really do feel that Zyon Grand presents a much more complete product as compared to what we see at Promenade Peak. I mean, I'm not saying Promenade Peak is not good, but when you put side by side, right, I really do think Zyon Grand is going to be more impressive and has the wow factor, okay? But that being said, Promenade Peak, it only has one block on this 100,000 square feet of land, whereas for Zyon Grand, it has 3 blocks on top of this 164,000 square feet of land. So when you compare it like this, right, it does feel like the number of facilities based on the similar land size, you will have lesser at Zyon Grand. Okay, but because they have the bigger land size, they are still able to overcome that just by having more facilities, but the ratio is going to be lesser. Okay, so next up, I'll be doing a case study, right, for the 3 bedrooms at Zyon Grand. Okay, so over here, we can see for the Zyon Grand's 3 bedroom compact layout types, right, we have the 3 bedroom and also the 3 bedroom deluxe. Okay, so this is 818 square feet and we have 59 units, and also the 861 square feet at 118 units. So when we look at the breakdown for the unit mix at Promenade Peak, Promenade Peak, right, the main difference is that they don't have this 3 bedroom compact. So I already can identify that there is this supply gap in terms of the unit types. Yeah, so that's why when we look at Promenade Peak, right, the 2 plus study is already 700 plus square feet, very close to what we see at Zyon Grand's 3 bedroom compact. So later on, I will also be touching in terms of the layout comparison and the price points. But over here, I do see a strong supply gap, right, that CDL has actually created in this area. So for those of you that is looking for a supply gap in terms of these 2 projects, then I think definitely the 3 bedroom compact will fulfill this criteria very well. Okay, so now moving on to the layouts, right, you can see this is a Zyon Grand 3 bedroom compact type. So starting off, we have the 818 square feet one. The main thing I don't like about this layout is just the kitchen. Okay, so this is not an enclosed kitchen, this is a kitchenette. And if you look closely at the master bedroom, master bath area, right, they kind of did this like semi-dumbbell layout thing. So they have the bedrooms that is together aligned with the master bedroom. So this one is quite rare to see this kind of concept in today's market. Okay, so I think CDL, they managed to squeeze in this over here, and later on I will share where this stack is facing. Okay, and now onto the 861 square feet. So definitely this one is slightly better and more conventional. Okay, so enclosed kitchen, and then you got the balcony, and then you can see the bedrooms, they are across each other, and then on the left side will be all the master bath and master bedroom. Okay, so the main thing I don't like about this one is that they have this like segment, I think it's part of the structural beam or something lah. Yeah, but they have this box in the middle here, so it does result in a little bit of unusable space. And on top of that, you can see the entrance area, although they got built a DB box storage area, right, but it still feel like it's a bit of a wasted space in that sense. Okay, so now let's take a closer look, right, for all these 3 bedrooms compact, where are they actually facing when we look at the map itself. So you can see here, I have circled the 3 of them. Okay, so they are stack 3, stack 6 and stack 9, and you can see majority of stack 3, they should be facing towards Promenade Peak's stack 8 and 9, that block lah. Okay, and on top of that, if you look closely, actually stack 6, they won't be blocked one. The majority of the view will be unblocked. You'll be facing towards Mirage Tower, that side. Okay, so you will have the pocket view. Yeah, but I don't think you will really have the block facing towards Promenade Peak side. Okay, whereas for stack 9, to be honest, the view of stack 9, I think is even worse than stack 6, because stack 9, it will be kind of facing towards Tribeca Tower and Mirage Tower lah. Yeah, but the setback is going to be still quite far. But overall, this is what I can project out in terms of the view. Maybe you can let me know in the comment section whether you agree with me on this, because from what I see, this one should be quite close to what we should expect on the ground itself already. And now, right, let's take a closer look into the view itself from Promenade Peak side. And then you can see actually for stack 8, 9, 10, 11 and 12, right, to be honest, their view is going to be quite blocked because they are facing directly at Zyon Grand. Whereas you can see for CDL, right, they actually position block 3 to be a bit tilted away from Promenade Peak. So in terms of views, I would say I think stack 3 and 4, they're going to be still facing towards Promenade Peak side. Actually, I think even stack 4, right, you can have slight unblocked view already. Okay, so majority will be stack 3. I do expect stack 3 at Zyon Grand to be the cheapest one. Okay, but other than that, Promenade Peak, majority of the facing will be facing towards Zyon Grand. That one cannot see, confirm will be blocked. Okay, whereas for Zyon Grand, at least it will still be a little bit more unblocked because of the tilting lah. Yeah, I think at least Zyon Grand CDL, right, they position the blocks a bit better. Okay, so don't have to worry too much about the block facing. Yeah, whereas you can see for Promenade Peak's stack 9, so this one will be the main comparison later I'll be sharing with you guys. Okay, so now moving on to the layout comparison. Over here, right, I'm just comparing based on size. I'm not comparing based on bedroom types, okay? So first up, we have Zyon Grand's 818 3 bedrooms. So this one is the compact just now like I mentioned. Comparing to the Promenade Peak's 79 square feet 2 plus study. Last but not least, we have the River Green's 786 square feet 3 bedrooms. So definitely when I look across the three, the most impressive one will be River Green's 3 bedrooms, because I don't know how Wing Tai do it, but they still manage to squeeze in enclosed kitchen with a household shelter. So I think in terms of layout efficiency, definitely this 786 River Green one is the best really, okay? But just something to take note on River Green's bedroom 3, they only can fit in a single bed, okay? They don't fit in a queen size bed. Yeah, so this is just the main differences that I can see versus Zyon Grand, okay? And then for Zyon Grand, at least they can have 3 proper full bedroom that can fit queen size bed Whereas for Promenade Peak, right, it really will lose out quite a bit, because I think most people will top up a little bit more just to get either the River Green's enclosed bedroom, or they can get the Zyon Grand's proper 3 bedroom types. Yeah, for Promenade Peak, this 2 plus study, it has to be priced attractively, because I would say in the resale market, right, definitely the 3 bedroom compact at River Green and Zyon Grand will move first until a certain point where the price point gets too high. Then I can see Promenade Peak's 2 plus study moving in the resale market. So it will be already a third choice, I would say, because you see, even the kitchen is not enclosed as compared to Zyon Grand and River Green. Okay, I mean Zyon Grand also not enclosed. So if I were to rank between these 3 layouts, purely layouts, I don't talk about the site plan, I don't talk about what is the comparison in the pricing, all this. Just based on layout itself, River Green will be rank 1, okay? Zyon Grand will be rank 2, and then Promenade Peak will be rank 3. Okay, so right now let's do a price comparison across these 3 projects. So starting off, we have River Green. So this one is for the 786 square feet one. So 2.188 million all the way to 2.697 million. So this one, the quantum, the range is quite big, almost a 500k gap from the low floor all the way to the top floor unit. Okay, and for the PSF, right, you can see also a very big range, $2,700 PSF all the way to $3,004 PSF, and we are looking at an average of 2.4 million, PSF about 3,001. Okay, so this one all fully sold already. Now for Promenade Peak's 2 plus study layout, right, you can see, so this 797 is starting from price of 2.177 million all the way to 2.42 million. Okay, PSF range from 2007 all the way to $3,000, and you can see the average pricing we are looking at is 2.286 million, and then the PSF is 2008 PSF average. Okay, so this one 15 units transacted. And then now let's do a projection, right, of how Zyon Grand can potentially position themselves when compared to these 2 launches. Okay, so for Zyon Grand, let's say we use this 818 square feet at $2,700 PSF, we are looking at is 2.2 million. So definitely gonna be quite aligned with what we see at Promenade Peak and River Green in terms of entry price. Okay, and at $3,000 PSF, we are looking at 2.454 million. Last but not least, we have even at 3,004 PSF, 2.781 million. So if you ask me, right, I think the units will still move pretty well for the 818 square feet as long as the quantum is below 2.7, because if you already see River Green, right, the take-up rate already so strong. Yeah, so I won't be surprised if the high floor Zyon Grand 818 unit, if they price it below 2.7, right, it will still move pretty well, because there's already buyers at River Green. Okay, and I would say in terms of product overall, Zyon Grand is a much better product as compared to River Green. I mean, we don't talk about layout, we talk about overall like site plan, all this, because you see the site plan for River Green is very cramped as compared to Zyon Grand. So if people value more on the facilities and not on the layout, then I think people will actually pay for Zyon Grand over River Green. Yeah, so these are some of the pros and cons between the 2 developments for the particular layout type. So over here, you already can see I've already estimated what we expect at Zyon Grand, right? Then with all the prices at River Green and also Promenade Peak, we can already do a price gap analysis, and then this is how I would prepare my clients that are interested for Zyon Grand. From here, there is no fluff one. It's really just numbers wise, how to make a safe entry price and also purchase. And on top of that, I'll also be looking at the resale prices in the area like Resale and also Tribeca, all this, to formulate what is a fair entry price in the area itself. Okay, so next up, let's take a look at Promenade Peak's remaining units, right? So here we have the Stack 9 layout. So this one is the 797 square feet one. So for the low floor units, we have 2.2 million at $2,700 PSF, all the way up to the 30th floor units. So those will be at 2.4 million at $3,000 PSF. So these are the units still in the market right now, and I'm not surprised because they are facing directly at Zyon Grand. So maybe some of the buyers, if they have done their own calculation, the 800 plus square feet at Zyon Grand, I can get similar quantum, but the layout maybe is a lot better. So why not I might wait for Zyon Grand instead. Yeah, so this is what I see on the ground. And some of the buyers that are still on the fence for Promenade Peak. So just now, right, you can see for the 3-bedroom case study, this is just one example of how I would prepare my clients that is looking for Zyon Grand purchase, because in the end, I think these are all the little steps that will help you make a more informed decision from the site plans, from the layouts, and also the price gaps from the recent launches, and also the resale nearby. It's quite important to do homework on all these to make an informed decision, especially if you're entering a big ticket purchase. Okay, so for the other bedroom types, all this, you can feel free to WhatsApp me at 8484-9302, because I will prepare all this in the Excel sheet for all of my clients across the different bedroom types. Generally, we don't want to look wider, we want to dive deeper into each bedroom type to have the most accurate assessment on the demand and supply in this area as well. Okay, so now let's take a look at the resale 3-bedroom transactions near Zyon Grand. Then you can see we have Mirage Tower, freehold, 1997 TOP. The 3-bedroom, the size they are 1,002 square feet all the way to 1,008 square feet. Quantum 2.8 million to almost 4 million. Okay, Centennial Suites, freehold 2012. The 3-bedroom range 1,007 square feet to 1,009 square feet, and then 5 million plus quantum. Tribeca, freehold, TOP 2010. 3 bedrooms, the size range from 1,003 to 1,008. Quantum 3.4 million to 4.4 million. Last but not least, we have the most recently TOP Riviera. So this one 2023 TOP, and then the size range from 500 square feet all the way to 1,800 square feet. And the transacted quantum 3.25 million all the way to 5.1 million. So that is why we can see the very strong take-up rate at Promenade Peak and also River Green, is because there is a very significant price gap that all these super compact 3-bedroom layout types, right, is able to offer. Because to be honest, if you've been wanting to live in River Valley or the Great World City area for the longest time, actually over there, the developers never really cater to this target audience for the longest time. But in these recent launches, I think because they have multiple launches, developers, they have to make it very competitive in terms of quantum and the take-up rate. So that's why you can see why the developers actually managed to sell the unit so well, because there is a very significant quantum shortage in this 2 million gap area for this area. So for those of you that found this video useful, I'm quite sure you also have some valuable takeaways for my previous video that I've done for the comparison between River Green and Promenade Peak, because in that video, I actually go more in depth in the area itself, because for this project, they have a total of 5 plots. So it's going to be quite important to actually take a closer look at what is your competitors, especially if you're buying in terms of investment. But even at own stay, right, we also want to have that resale advantage, so this is how I would want to position my clients. Okay, so last but not least, for those of you that's interested in the upcoming launches such as Sky at Holland, The Sand, Zyon Grand, Faber Residences, and Penreef, I'll be involved in all those. So do feel free to reach out to me at WhatsApp 8484-9302. Alright, looking forward to hear from you guys. So for those of you that have some valuable takeaways from this video, you can feel free to leave a like and subscribe to help the channel. And at the same time, you can check out my YouTube channel for other in-depth analysis that I've done for the recent launches and also the past launches. Okay, and looking forward to hear from you guys. Bye!